So I think we can start now. I hope I'm audible. Okay. So let's start. So, good evening. Welcome to the live session, weekly live sessions for this course, Affective Computing. This is the live session number 11. Let me introduce briefly. So the course instructors are Professor Janendra Shukla from IIIT Delhi and Professor Abhinav Dhal from IIT Ropar. My name is Akanksha and I am a PMRF TA. I am a PhD student at Department of CSC at IIT Ropar. And if this is your first live session, I would like to tell you what exactly this, the agenda of these live sessions. So basically, we try to discuss the previous year assignment questions so that you're able to, know the pattern and solve the assignments in this iteration as well. We will be discussing the week 11 content, which is case study, emotional virtual personal assistance, and ethics in EVAs. This is emotional virtual assistance. Okay. So the approach will be to discuss the previous year questions as well as some extra questions are also there. So yeah, okay. And I would request you to please participate in this session as much as possible because uh, after every question I'll pause for a while, and if you want to unmute, that's also fine. If you want to write the answers in the chat box, that's also fine. Just try to answer the questions. This week's content is not that difficult. It's mostly about the ethical issues and the like what are the concerns related to that. So it must be very intuitive also, so it won't be very difficult. So I expect that you guys will also interact. So okay, let's start. So I'll read the questions. Which of the following is a challenge in developing an emotional virtual agent? Accuracy, real-time processing, privacy concerns, all of the above. Okay, Akash says C, Ashwini is saying D. Let's see. So there are many challenges while developing this emotional virtual assistance. Um, First of all is accuracy, because we want our that EVA to respond, our agent to respond accurately. We want that accurately recognizing and responding to users' emotions, which can be challenging due to variability because whenever we design these EVAs, the data set, or you can say um, the training has been done using some certain kind of data on certain kind of people, but in real world scenario multiple people will interact with the agent, and I am different than rest of you. So each person is different. There is a high variability among the participants, among the people who interact with the agent. So one formula that works for me will not work for everyone. So we want to develop some kind of comprehensive and more inclusive agent. So this is a challenge actually, how to do it, because so much variability, we can't program it explicitly for each and every person's requirements, right? We need to find some middle ground. We need to find some common attributes which are like common in most of the cases. So yeah, that's one thing. Variability, it can be challenging due to variability in emotional expressions across individuals, cultures and contexts. Now, this also depends not only just on, I mean, not just only the individuals, but also culturally it can be very, variable. um, One culture, maybe something which is relevant, which is okay in the US, might not be that okay in India. So also that is also, it has to be correct, it has to be accurate in that respect as well. And different contexts is also there. Suppose I am in a situation where I'm finding something funny, but in different situation I won't find that same thing funny. So that is also very important to identify what kind of context, what kind of situation is going on. So it is a challenge, it is a major challenge actually. Second is real time processing. um, Emotional virtual agents, they need to process user input and generate responses in real time. Because suppose you are interacting with Alexa or Siri. Now if you talk to them and then they are like replying after like 1 minute, that is not a conversation, it's just question answering. After like it's processing and taking so much of time. So um but in order to have conversations with that, in order to interact, actually we want to delay uh, we we want to have this conversation going on. Let me read. Akash is writing something. um, Ma'am, isn't that if there are billions of people there in the world and we got data from more and more people, there might be enough data in some point in future where our model is might more accurate. Definitely, Akash, definitely. This is the actually the deep learning models, or which is the most common used approach, right? So deep learning models, what they usually require, they're data hungry. The more diverse data you will provide while training, they will learn different characteristics. If you provide them limited data, suppose you are providing them data from only from the US, they will learn how the characteristics of the US citizens, like the characteristics of those people. But that same model won't generalize well for Indian context. So if we provide data from India as well, then they will be that the model will learn the complexities. Of course, we there are numerous factors how we can handle these kind of situations, but definitely if we include different variety of data, that will help a lot for increasing the accuracy. So I hope that helps. Okay, now we were discussing that real time is very important because actually we are interacting with something. We don't want to wait for a while before getting another reply, right? So, how are we going to do that? We want to optimize our models. We want um, faster computation, lesser complexities, um, high performance hardware and software to minimize the response time. This is the end goal, to minimize the response time. Third challenge is the privacy concerns. Now, if emotional, what exactly is emotional virtual agent? It is an agent, or suppose a software or a virtual assistant or an avatar whom we are interacting with, and we are expecting that they understand our emotional state, right? They just don't they're not chatbot, but they're intelligent chatbot, right? They're just not a tutor, they're just not a video playing. The avatar knows, it can sense that you are feeling frustrated while attending a lecture, so it can adapt accordingly. Example, if you attended the previous sessions, there was auto tutor. Auto tutor, what it does is it adjusts according to emotional state of the person. Now the thing is that uh, these for this sensing, for this emotional awareness, where will it get the awareness from? it needs more and more data. It needs my data, my facial expressions, my voice tone, um, whenever I am feeling happy, sad. So it knows a lot about me, and there is a lot of data available to that agent, right? And this raises privacy concerns because the agent knows everything about you, how you're cognitive. Suppose it's an auto tutor, so it is teaching you something. Now, what if you are not that good in that subject, and the auto tutor can sense that you're frustrated and you're not good at it, but you don't want to disclose the data, right? In case of medical applications, suppose you are suffering from some kind of mental health issues and you are going to get assistance from some virtual agent. Now the virtual agent you're interacting with, and you're telling that okay, this is my problem, these are the issues. Maybe you will share some personal stuff as well, and you don't want to disclose that information. That privacy is very important here, because these virtual agents, they collect a lot of data. So it is very sensitive user data, not just data but sensitive one. So we have to be very careful where we will, how we will collect, because we want their consent. We would tell them, okay, the camera will be recording your facial expressions. If the user allows, only then we can record. We have to follow these you know terms. And then okay, once we have collected the data, we want to store it somewhere, but you can't just store it on a open like access website. You can't just make it open access, right? And how the data is being used, once you are done with that experiment or some, that part, what are you going to do with the data? Some unethical practices involved, that's you sell the data to third party. For example, so many times our number is being sold, our data is being sold to some third party which needs to advertise their products. So these issues always arise. So these three are the all of the above are the issues. Okay. Okay, next question is, which of the following is a suitable reason why an emotional virtual agent should support multiple languages? These are from the previous assignments. First 10 questions will be from the previous assignment. Okay, please try to answer. I'll read out the options. To limit the number of users who can interact with the EVA, to increase the cost of development, to enable a wider range of users to access emotional support, to increase the workload of the developers. Okay, so why do we need multilingual support? The first point is to enhance accessibility. So, if we have included multiple languages, um, a person who knows Hindi only can also, use that agent, can also benefit from that agent. Um, So it ensures that individuals from diverse linguistic backgrounds can access its services. For example, um, this mental health. Suppose there is a mental health assistant. Now, only if the agent is only trained in English, then only people who are comfortable and they are very confident in their English, they will be able to interact with that agent better. But suppose I don't know English and I want to uh, use that agent for my mental health therapy session, but I won't be able to use it. So we want more languages to be included, because non-native speakers, we want to provide emotional support for them. It's not just about the mental health part, it might be some companionship or like that. Then comes inclusivity, of course. um, there are some populations which are marginalized. they have very small populations. The language is also not spoken by many people. Like English is worldwide, but maybe some ABC language which is spoken by very few people. So if we include that language as well, um, people will feel more included in these this you can say ecosystem, right? So in a globalized world with multicultural populations, inclusivity is very crucial, and we want to uh, we want to demonstrate that a commitment to inclusivity by accommodating users of different linguistic backgrounds, cultures, and regions. Now, of course, if it is multilingual, it will also enhance the user experience because ultimately you are more comfortable in your native language, right? The way you can express in your native language, you can't express in your second language, right? So it enhances their experience and engagement with the EVA, and users feel more comfortable and understood when they communicate in their native language, leading to better interactions and outcomes. So, next is reach and impact. It also expands the reach, same point but different view. That reach, it has also increased because we are able to uh, tap into a broader audience. So this perspective is from the developer perspective. You can say that your product is there and you can reach more. The target audience has expanded now. So it allows EVA to serve users from diverse regions and communities, potentially reaching individuals who may not be proficient in more widely spoken languages, right? So we want to provide the access to multilingual people, to more people. Okay. Third question is, what should an emotional virtual agent base its appropriate response on? Intent and emotion, emotion and context, intent and context, a mix of intent, emotion, and context. Okay, let me read this out. Would it be feasible if we develop a model for people who are less in number as being a private company and they have to consider the profit also? Uh, if you are, suppose there is a group for which you are developing a product and your target audience is very small, like only 10,000 people speak that language, but uh, there is no scalability in that product, right? You won't be able to expand your product. This multilingual thing, it's not about just one language, it's about multiple languages. So of course, as a if I talk about as a developer, I would prefer that my product goes a long way and my product is reaching maximum people. So in order to target that, I will also target the language which is widely spoken, and in addition to that, I can add on a different language which is not that popular, which is very spoken very by very few people. So that way it's an add-on. If you, of course, it will be feasible. If you are targeting only suppose Punjabi people, so you're targeting only Punjabi audience, very small number will be there. Then, but how will you scale after that? And that's your choice. If you only want to cater the target audience, that depends. But of course, if you want to consider the profit part, then you would like to expand the product to different languages. So that's why the concept of multilingual actually it enhances the reachability. Okay, mix of intent, emotion, and context, both are saying D. Okay, let's see. So first is intent. What does intent actually mean? It means that it, the underlying purpose or goal behind a user's action or a query. So whenever we are interacting with the EVA and we want to it to understand the user's intent. It helps the agent to provide relevant and helpful responses. Example, one a user says, I need help finding a nearby restaurant. So what is the motive? Motive is that the intention is that the user wants to eat. You want to go, the user wants to go to eat to, at that restaurant for dining, right? So you want to locate a restaurant for dining. The EVA recognizes this intent and responds by providing recommendations based on the user's location and preferences. Okay. So basically, the idea is that there is some kind of personalization here. It's not just that you will display all the just list of these restaurants, but you might include the personal preferences and user's location and these kind of factors, right? So intent is important. Then comes the emotion part. So emotion refers to users feeling or affective state during the interaction. Now, in human communication, emotions, of course, play a crucial role, and it changes the context of the conversation as well. So it's very important to know that what is the actual emotion. So user says, I'm feeling frustrated because I can't figure out how to use this application. So what EVA can do is uh, they can they can sense that the user is feeling very frustrated. Now in order to counter that frustration, in order to calm that user down, what it can do is it can respond empathetically. So we discussed in the past lectures that if there's something called parallel empathy, there's another thing is reactive empathy. So parallel empathy is usually when the person is in a positive state of mind. For example, if you are feeling good about something, then I should also say that the virtual agent should also respond in a positive manner in order to keep the level right of that positivity. However, if I am feeling negative, then I expect that the virtual agent would respond in certain way to counter that negative emotion and to produce more, invoke more a positive emotion in me, so that it will react the opposite way. Intent and emotion are not alike. Intent is um, it was like I'm saying that I want to look for a restaurant. So what am I want to do? What do I want to do? I want to go for dinner. There's no like emotional part is not there. What is the emotional part in that I want to go for dinner? It's understanding the motive behind something said, something being said. So if I'm saying that I need help finding a nearby restaurant, there is no emotional component in this sentence, is it? It's more like the the actual meaning of why would a person say that? What will be the motive behind that? Because a person is looking for a restaurant, then definitely they would be wanting to go for a dinner, right? So you can suppose I tell agent that, oh, I like Chinese food a lot. Suppose I have told them my food preferences. I like Chinese. So um, if I tell, suppose, hey Alexa, uh, I need help finding a nearby restaurant. Maybe then Alexa, if it is emotionally intelligent, if it is empathetic, if it understands the intent, then what it can do is um, it can find those restaurants like only Chinese restaurant, because I have already conveyed that I like Chinese more. So as an intent, we want to know the underlying purpose, yes. And emotion too. Emotion is something like um, suppose I'm saying that I want to go to the I want to go meet my friend. Okay, I want to go meet my friend. Now, if I say it like this, hey Siri, I'm going to meet my friend today. So you can sense that there is a happiness. And suppose um, it might not be exactly like that, but suppose I have told that my friend's birthday is it's my friend's birthday today, right? I'm going to meet my friend today. So I told, so now I say, yeah, I'm going to meet my friend today. So I'm feeling very happy. So it can sense that I'm feeling happy. This is the emotional part. The intent part will be, I'm just saying that I'm going to meet my friend. Then intent might be like birthday celebration. So it can infer, right? And then comes the third part, which is like um, this context, right? We will discuss in a while. So yeah, so if I say it like this, oh, I'm going to meet my friend today. Maybe my friend got sick or something. I'm going to meet her to take care of her, like that. So the machine will sense and then respond accordingly. Like it should say, if I'm happy, then it should say, wow, that's great, you should go out with your friends. And if I'm feeling sad, then it might cheer me up, or it might ask me, what happened, why do you seem so sad? So like that. Okay. uh, yes, like in intent we want to find the purpose, the motive, and emotion is like we're finding uh, how to respond in that situation, like that. So example was, I'm feeling frustrated because I can't figure out how to use this application. Now the EVA can what can it can do is, it can respond with empathy, offering step by step. We can, if the person is not getting it, then you can, what you can do, tell step number one, okay, do this first. When the person is able to perform that task, then jump on to the next one. So that way it will be able to go step by step, right? And the frustration level will come down. Also also they can suggest some troubleshooting or step by step, so these things can help, right? Then comes the context part. Now it encompasses the environmental, situational, and historical factors surrounding an interaction. um, it provides valuable information, because other than what is actually being said, because we don't say everything, but it depends on the situation, how, again, like I said, uh, for example, is very simple example is, what's the weather like? Without additional context, the the virtual agent might say, okay, this is going to be like that. Then if I know user's location, okay, or it can be inferred from previous interactions, so we can tailor a more personalized response. In Chandigarh the weather is like this, so it will be able to get more personalized, right? So the the EVA, it should be a mixture of balance of all. Okay, next question. Which of the following is the best way to prevent privacy concerns related to emotional virtual agents? Providing users with generic privacy policy without mentioning the specific data being collected by the agent, obtaining users' consent before collecting personal data, and clearly stating the purpose, using encryption techniques, um, and selling users' personal data to third party for safe backup. Okay, B. Let's see. So, the first point was like providing users with a generic privacy policy. If we hide the internal details, that would be not sufficient, right? It may not fully inform users about the extent of data collection. Suppose you told them, that you told the participants, okay, your facial expressions will be recorded, but then when you go, there's a whole setup. They are recording your body posture, they're recording how are you responding, your communication, your speech. That will be a deception, right? That will be um, half, you just tricked them into getting the data. So that will be a kind of a cheating, right? So potential implications are there and leading to privacy concerns. Now, obtaining users' consent before collecting personal data, it ensures, of course, if you mention that, okay, this is my experiment going to be, this is how it's going to be, and I want your permission to record your data, everything is mentioned in this document, and if you agree to these terms and conditions, this data will be recorded. If you agree to these terms and conditions, then we can continue and you should participate in the experimentation. Now if that person has uh, you know given their consent and still after that they're having issues, then it's not your fault, because you you did your part, you did your job, um, you want them to know everything, you've been transparent about everything. So it ensures transparency and allows users to make informed decisions about sharing their information. If I don't want to share my information, I would say no. Then clearly stating the purpose of the data collection helps build trans- trust and accountability. Suppose if, even if you are collecting my data, I'm you telling everything like, okay, we will collect only your facial features, but for what purpose? You also have to mention, what if my data is being used for some other harmful, which can harm my reputation, for some other task, right? That I don't want to get involved in. But if I clearly mention everything, then of course, um, that's a plus point, and that should be there. Actually, it's not a plus point, it's mandatory that you should be very clear about everything, that this is the purpose of my experiment, I'm working on this. Suppose mental health state uh, prediction, okay, are you feeling stressed or not? So of course you can use kind of these kind of things. um, Again, in encryption techniques, this comes into play when you have collected the data and you want to store that data. Many attackers can try to steal the data. What you can do is you can put an additional layer of security against the unauthorized access. So that way you can contribute to ensuring the privacy, right? It's actually security, but okay. So, okay. And then comes selling the personal data to third party company for safe backup. It's like the worst thing you can do, because it's actually happening. Many companies, many our data is being recorded by so many websites वगैरह, and they just sell the data to next. You receive emails, you receive messages from the companies that you never even like bought any stuff from. So how do they do that? They just sell the data. They just buy data from other websites. So it violates the user's privacy rights, and there are privacy concerns rather than addressing them. So only 2 and 3 are. So this one is not. This is correct. This is okay. So 2 and 3 are okay. An emotional virtual agent is designed to provide emotional support to people with mental health conditions. However, it leads to negative consequences when the virtual agent is discontinued. What ethical concern is highlighted in this scenario? Dependency on the virtual assistant, discrimination against certain groups, invasion of privacy, and biased emotional responses. Mhm. A. Okay, let's see. So yeah, it's A. Let's understand what's actually this dependency on virtual agent. Uh, Suppose I am suffering, I'm going through a rough phase, my mental health is not that good, and I am seeking assistance from a virtual agent which is deployed in a hospital, right? Now, um, it this dependency, how it comes into picture is that it refers to the over reliance of individuals on the emotional support or assistance provided by the virtual agent. Now the virtual agent is, suppose it's programmed to, I ask like what should I do, this happened, what should I do now, I'm too stressed. Maybe the agent will say, you should do this. Now I will do that. Next time I face a problem, I will come again to that virtual agent. I'll like, I'm suffering from this, what should I do? Then they will suggest a response, right? I will follow it. What happens is that you don't realize, but you're getting so much dependent on that virtual agent, and we somehow feel that this is a real entity that is giving us advice, but we fail to understand that it is just a programmed function, right? It's not somebody who can understand our emotions, it's just algorithms. So we should not be so dependent on such a virtual agent. It's for our assistance, it's not for just dependency, right? So it can develop when users increasingly rely on the virtual assistant for virtual needs such as emotional support, guidance, or companionship, to the extent that they become less capable or willing to manage these needs independently or through human interactions. Now, suppose I am an extrovert, but suppose there is an introvert person, and they feel more comfortable interacting with the virtual agent rather than a human being. What they will do now is that they get to know that okay, I can also benefit from interaction with this virtual, and I don't need to interact with people. So that introvert person will always prefer talking to that agent. What happens is that slowly they will just not be comfortable talking to humans. They will want that virtual assistant should be there, right? So they become less capable or willing to manage these things. I'll just nowadays also, like if I have any problem in coding, I just put on chat gpt, like let me know please what is the solution. It gives me the answer. Although that is not something like emotional aspect is there, but dependencies has increased, right? And now I'll be very frustrated, I don't want to seek humans help. I can't manage these things independently, but we are so dependent on chat gpt. So that is the same scene happening here. So these are some points like, um, it can cause emotional reliance. um, so emotionally, users may become emotionally dependent on the virtual assistant, turning it for comfort, empathy, and advice during difficult times. Over the time, users may rely on a virtual assistant as the primary source of this emotional support, hindering their ability to seek support from human relationships or develop healthy coping mechanisms. I'll just go to that agent, please tell me what to do. So I'm not even trying myself. There's already a model on this, an app called Replica, my AI friend. I have personally used it a couple of years ago, and the AI model feels so much connected. Yeah, so that's what, like AI models are getting better and better, right? You want to interact with them, and somehow you feel like okay, this is very nice, and you will go back again and again and again. If you have any problem, like please find the answer for this. Now, which is not wrong, but just becoming dependent and not even talking to some other human being, that will be very um, you know becoming too much dependent, right? That's what we want to avoid. Then comes the reduced self reliance. Again, same thing. The confidence you don't have on yourself, you will just like feel like I'll go there, I'll get a solution and then I'll work on it. You don't want to use your own brain. So you lose confidence in yourself. And you don't even try. So you lose the problem solving skills, right? Now, disruptions of human connections. Of course, if you don't want to interact with other people, then your social circle will shrink. You know, and it will you will lose so many human connections. So, reduced engagement in real life social interactions, right? Then withdrawal effects. Now, this is the worst because once suppose this app like you're talking, suppose Replica, they just discontinue this app, right? Now, what will you do? Suppose if you every day you went there and you talked to that agent and then you interacted with, it's like, suppose, let's talk about a game. You're addicted to PUBG. Then every day you go and you play PUBG. One day you realize that, oh, they've suddenly stopped. They've discontinued this product. The app is, you can't find that app on the App Store anymore. Now, what will you do? You will be super frustrated. Like, where is this app? I want to play. It's like an addiction, right? So those users who have developed a strong dependency may experience withdrawal effects or heightened distress because it causes frustration and the sudden loss of access, emotional support or guidance could even escalate these existing, mental health conditions. You will feel more lonely once the agent is gone. So that is the worst consequence. So yeah, the answer is dependency on the virtual assistant. Okay, next question. Yeah, it feels like I am talking to a human being. Exactly. These AI agents are very small, very smart, and that is the thing. Like you start considering them um, as a human only, like as your friend. So, okay, virtual agents may display discrimination against certain group of people due to possibility of their emotional responses being influenced by bias or prejudice. Okay, so virtual agents, including emotionally intelligent ones, they may advantageously, okay, whatever, display discrimination against certain groups of people due to various factors such as bias. Now, what happens is these kind of biases, how can these biases get introduced in a model? What is bias actually? Firstly, let's discuss what is bias. Bias is something I have a preconceived notion in my mind. For example, if I am suppose I'm going to eat something that I've heard like vada pav. I've heard that it is very spicy. Okay, but then I actually go and I'm expecting it to be very spicy, so I have bias in my mind. I'm biased. Or um, if you if there's a game going on and you know that okay, the player A is usually better, then you have bias in your head like okay, this game also A is going to win. So it's preconceived notions in our mind that we have. Or same thing when we are talking about these agents, agents don't have their own brain, right? So they what they have is they have been trained on something. Suppose this uh, suppose I have trained this on a speech data set to to know the emotional state, right? But it has been trained on only on English or even on the like specifically the UK people, suppose. Now, what one thing which works for the UK might not work for the US, right? So, but the model only knows certain things. It has some notion like, okay, happy is going to sound like this only, sad is going to sound like this. It has that bias. Or even in the image related, suppose face recognitions, like that, these models, suppose the data set it has been trained on is only white people with white skin tone from the US, but now you're deploying the same model in Indian context where we have variety of this skin tone, like a range of skin tone, right, from dark to light. Now that model is biased towards white people, and it might not be able to perform really well on in like Indian context. So uh, based on the training data, the bias might already be present in the training data, or even the algorithmic biases. Or have you designed the algorithm like that? Okay, since I am the developer, I might think like, okay, if a person is smiling only then he is happy. This is my thought, this is my perception, but it might be possible that in some cases it can be different. Exactly, exactly. The bias is like machine is not intelligent. We are deciding what is right and what is wrong. We are putting that idea into the machine. We are feeding it, and we are telling it. Yes, exactly. That's very well put, Akash. And we are telling if that situation is right or wrong. It's our notion. It's not absolute, right? So the biases can manifest in virtual agents' responses as well. Suppose another example can be, you are saying that um, eating is, suppose in an Indian context, sometimes we're not feeling good, we say just go and eat something, your favorite dish, right? But maybe in the US, hypothetically saying that people say, oh, don't eat, don't do stress eating. So one thing, if the machine is telling me go eat something, then it might sound very weird to the people in the US. So they will be saying, what are you even telling me to do? It's very hypothetical, very random example, but I think you get the idea. Now, it affects the quality of interaction and potentially leading to unfair treatment or discrimination against specific demographic groups, right? If the training data is used to develop emotional intelligence predominantly from one demographic group, such as individuals from a specific cultural background or gender, um, the agent may struggle to accurately recognize or respond to emotions. One very good example can be um, gender. Okay, suppose men are designing this model and something very um, sensitive topic is there. For example, maternity leave, right? Which is purely associated with the women. But women are not the contributors. Now, thought, whatever men are thinking about that concept, they will feed into the model. But they're not taking into consideration what actually women have to go through and how should we design the policies according to them, right? There's a bias, there's a gender bias. Now the machine will respond in a way that a man thinks and not a woman, right? So yeah, biased interpretations will be there, and the virtual agent should not be like that, because otherwise women will be very offended. Prejudice is the same thing. Prejudice is like something you have decided just in prior to, you have made up your mind, this is what I think and this is I will do, and that's you're not going to change. Okay, next question. To prevent overfitting, the number of features used should be balanced with the complexity of the model. A. Okay. So, what is overfitting? in context of deep learning algorithms or machine learning algorithms, what we do is that um, if we like the model learns some unnecessary features in as well. So it captures noise. The model learns to capture noise or random fluctuations in the training data rather than the underlying patterns or relationships. One way to prevent overfitting. So let's just describe what overfitting is actually. Let me just suppose we have this classifier, right? And suppose this is the data, and something like this. So if we want to design a classifier, okay, let me read something Akash has written. Means either we have to verify a training model by group of women or we have to develop a model with them. Yeah, my point is that we are introducing bias in some way, right? The measures can be like you should include people from the data from different uh, gender, race, demographics, just to understand their perspective as well. If only one set of people are making the decisions, if only one set of data set is being used, then of course our model will not be able to understand. Yes, yes, yes. So in this context, okay, let's talk about overfitting. If we have this something like this, and we want to um, you know, design a classifier, right? So what we can do is one, we can just put no effort, zero effort. We can say just I will put a line. I will just like that, no effort. So this is called bias, high bias actually. High bias, or you can say, let's not say, okay, let's call it underfitting actually. Okay, underfitting is when we are not putting so much effort in the classifier and the classifier is uh, very not capable enough. It's not capable enough to capture the complexities. Okay, suppose we have this. Um, okay, let me draw it again. Suppose we have this data. Now we want to design a classifier, and what if I design a classifier which is like separating every green instance separately, something like this. So this is like overfitting. Why? Because we are just making our model too complex. These decision boundaries, these decision boundaries, they're basically what model like it is the structure of the model. If it is it this is too simple, this is too complex, we need to find some middle ground. We need to find some middle ground. So what we can do is, suppose this is it, and suppose even like 2 points here are there, we can design something like this, which is not that complex, but it captures the majority of the data correctly. right? This is balanced. This is the concept of overfitting, underfitting, and taking care of these things. Um, so one way to prevent overfitting is by ensuring a balance between the number of features. And how can we overcome this overfitting? We can make our models. If the model is too complex, we can feed more data. Okay, and if the model has too many features relative to the amount of data available, it can become overly complex and prone to overfitting. If the model is too simple or lacks sufficient features, it may underfit and fail to generalize well to the new unseen data. Then we want to find the right balance, which reduces the complexity, prevents overfitting, and model that generalizes well to new data as well. So we can have many techniques like feature selection, dimensionality reduction, regularization, and cross validation to overcome these. So this is true. Next question is, okay, underfitting and balanced. Okay, I will tell. So we have two classes and we want to discriminate. Suppose this is our data. Okay. Now, um, underfitting is something that you are designing a classifier which is not performing that well. So, by looking at this data, do you think a parabola like structure will be the better classifier? Do you think so? You can also unmute and talk.
Yes, ma'am.
So, you think like something like this will be a better classifier, decision boundary, if you know, right? But
Yes, ma'am. A straight line would not be perfect
yeah,
to
exactly.
divide them.
And what if I want to use a straight line only? What if I go with a straight line? This will result in something like this, and the misclassification will be high, right?
Yes, ma'am.
It won't
Yes,
be able
ma'am.
to capture these complexities. Suppose I will also. Okay, let me place it here. See, so this is the case of underfitting, because what underfitting is doing, we are underutilizing the power of the classifier. Like we're designing a classifier which is not suitable, which is not capable enough. Okay, so we want, for the complexity we want something which is balanced, not very low complexity, not very high complexity. So for very high complexity will be like, we want to each and every instance to be classified perfectly. So that will be something like, if I design a classifier like this, so this will be a curve which will be of high degree, very high degree, suppose x raised to power 7, something like that. This is x raised to power 1, right? But we know that we can also use something in between, which can capture, which can of course have some kind of errors. We are okay with some errors. So we can design something like this, which is more balanced. So yes, both are not desirable. Underfitting is also not desirable, and overfitting is also not desirable. So we want to find the balance. So what is like the point is that generalizability. Generalizability means that what if a new point comes here. Now the model won't be working really good. This model has to be changed. It has to be like done like this again, right? If we are learning too much here, we don't need this complex of a model. That is the difference between underfitting, overfitting, and finding a balance. I hope it's clear now. Okay. So next question is, the speech emotion detection and virtual assistant components should be able to work in real time or close to real time. True or false? A. True. Okay, let's see. So real-time processing in EVs of course is desirable, as we discussed that if I'm talking to some virtual assistant like Siri or Google Assistant, then what will be like I am saying something and they should also respond very quickly, right? In the real time. So prompt response is always desirable. It ensures that the system can analyze incoming speech, detect emotions accurately, generate appropriate responses without significant delay. It is very crucial for engaging, for flow of maintaining the flow of conversation and providing timely assistance to the user. We won't wait for like the reply to come for like 5 minutes and then we will okay now that agent is replying. No, we want it real time. Then comes it it should sound like a natural interaction. No person talks about a gap of like 3 minutes. It should be few seconds. Then enhanced user experience, of course, it will reduce the waiting time and increase engagement, and it makes the system feel more dynamic and responsive. Then um, real time, it enables, if suppose, okay, we are also able to sense the changes quickly. Suppose I am in a happy mood right now, I'm talking nicely, but suddenly something happens and then I change my tone, and the machine should be able to understand that, and these things should be done very quickly. Okay, next question. An emotional virtual personal assistant powered by machine learning that has been trained on South Indian languages and dialects would be able to translate well for North Indian users. False. Okay. So we talk about generalizability. We talk about these bias, uh, right? So the language differences are there. South Indian languages are completely different from the North Indian languages. Maybe Hindi and Tamil. They're very different. So one model that has been trained, one virtual assistant who knows Tamil might not be able to generalize well to Hindi, right? There might be some similarities, but there are a lot of differences, and uh, different contexts are also there. This regional variations are also there. Even if we are saying something, meaning is same, but the outcome, like okay, one sentence is same, but then the meaning can be different in different languages. So we need to understand the context in that sense as well. Cultural context, regional variations will be there, dialects will be there, language differences will be there. Accuracy and performance, of course, will be very less. So it may result attempting to translate between languages, and outside of this scope may result in lower accuracy and performance. They struggle to interpret, and translate speech from North Indian users. Yeah, exactly. Because even understanding the intent, this is where intent comes into picture, like sarcasm, right? Sarcasm is a very tricky concept. You can't, okay, you're saying, yeah, you go there. Now you don't mean actually that you go there. It's a sarcastic comment, but the machines can't understand that. So, you like it will take a lot of time um, to mimic the actual human behavior, be sarcastic to cognitive level, right? So understanding just the syntax of a language is different, but semantics of a language, it takes it to another level. Okay. Which of the following is true about a virtual personal assistant system? The options are really okay. Let's discuss. Of course, it should protect your privacy. It should, uh, protect your emotional data as well. So, user privacy is there. Users expect their personal data to be kept confidential, of course, when interacting with virtual assistants. Personal information like these phone number, your email ID, वगैरह वगैरह, you don't want to share, right? And if the data is not adequately protected, users may feel their privacy is compromised, leading to distrust in the system. Now, sensitive emotional data should also be protected. What if I am okay with people knowing, okay, I'm, um, firstly, example, in the case of this mental health sessions, this therapy sessions, I don't want to disclose that I'm not feeling good or I have some mental health issue right now. I don't want to disclose. My data should be protected. My name, my identity should be protected. Another thing is what kind of data should be protected? That how am I behaving? Suppose a person is uh, going through a very rough phase and they're just not able to control their emotions. So they're raising their voice. It's not in their control, but they're behaving very aggressive. And that person want to wouldn't want to disclose this information. So emotional data also should be protected. So this helps with is that if that we want to interact with that agent more and more, if we trust with their personal and emotional information is secure, right? And of course, if you want to launch a product in the market and then you you have to make sure that they're just not disclosing the information. Now, of course, we have to be compliant with some regulations. They have there are some bodies which is called General Data Protection Regulation in European Union and Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act in the United States. They require organizations to implement measures. So they require these acts. They just are for your personal and sensitive information preservation, including emotional data. So we want to be compliant. Otherwise, there will be legal repercussions and penalties. Okay, preventing misuse and abuse. Of course, we would. Um, this is something that if a person knows about, okay, she's going to see a psychologist or she's going for therapy sessions, and they might be insensitive about it. They might just say insensitive things. Somebody can say that, and it will impact you. You don't want that abuse, or you don't want that misuse or unauthorized access. Then comes the ethical considerations. As a person, you yourself should not uh, do these kind of unethical practices. So, ethical imperatives for developers and operators for virtual assistants. So we want to prioritize this data protection. Developers demonstrate a commitment to ethical principles and responsible use of technology. Okay. Yeah. Which of the following components is not usually associated with the virtual assistants? Dialogue management system, emotional sensing module, human activity detection module, automatic speech recognition. Mhm. Okay, let's see. So we have dialogue management system. This component is responsible for managing the conversation flow between the user and the virtual assistant, determining appropriate responses based on user input, context, and system capabilities. Okay, so dialogue management system is there. Then comes the emotion sensing module. So if the virtual assistant is emotionally able, aware, then they are equipped with emotional sensing capabilities to detect and interpret user emotions in addition to just the speech part. So this is also a part, emotion sensing module. Then comes automatic speech recognition. This is ASR. How are you even communicating with that agent? For example, Alexa. You're saying, Alexa, play this song. How does that agent know that you're talking to them? So automatic speech recognition, it means speech to text. So speech to text will be converted, then the processing will happen, and in the text form it will look for the appropriate answer and then convert the text to speech again. So that is also an important, very important component of this virtual agent scenario, which is ASR. So it converts spoken language into text and enables the system to understand and process user command or query delivered through speech. But we talk about this human activity detection module. It is usually associated with how, like, if the person is sitting, standing, running, these activities are there. And these are not typically associated with virtual assistants. Okay. So interact. So virtual assistant can be there, but usually it's not like that. Usually the virtual assistants can be in different contexts and environment. They're primarily focused on understanding and responding to user requests, and they detecting beyond the scope of this interaction. Okay, is it ethical to record every time the voice of users? Uh, what happens is that uh, our this agents. Okay, let me complete this answering this question, then, ma'am, we can discuss. So, um, voice of the users. So, what I know is that uh, these agents like Siri or Alexa, what they do is that since they have that, how would they know that we're talking to them and not to somebody else? We have some trigger words. Hey Alexa or Hey Siri, right? So whenever these words are spotted, they're constantly listening. They're constantly listening, but they're not recording our data. Hopefully they're not recording because that's a privacy concern. Um, but they don't usually should not record ideally. And then whenever we say these words, then there is a module which this ASR suppose ASR will detect that Hey Siri has been spoken, and then it will activate the virtual agent. That's how it works. Of course, it's not ethical to record every time. Maybe just record the conversation after that trigger word. That would be better. Niva ma'am, do you have any question?
No, no, it accidentally got on
Okay,
actually.
okay, okay. So Akash, it actually, we are talking more about like these agents such as, um, how can you say, like suppose in the case of auto tutor, affective auto tutor, even if you're considering the body posture, like how the student is sitting, it actually depends on the application, but mostly these virtual assistants, they don't require activity detection. If you are talking about some sports related application, uh, or in any application where this human posture is necessary, human posture is something different actually. This body posture, we have different sensors. Then comes human activity detection. It is specifically human activity detection. It specifically means that whether the person is standing, what currently the person is doing, like is the person sitting, standing, running, um, they are lying, sleeping, like that. Yeah, I mean, in certain applications you can use it, but in mostly like these agents, it's not, usually it's not a part of it. Yeah. Also, one more thing, like sometimes we discard these options one, like, but we have to choose the most appropriate or the least appropriate with respect to the question. So that does not mean that any agent will never use human activity detection. You can design an agent, you can design an agent like a robo, which can definitely revolve more about around human activity detection because it will mimic you like that. But actually, in this course, the case study was these agents which are more like uh, Alexa. So they usually don't require. That's why the questions are like formed like this. But otherwise, it's you can. Okay. So how are we going to design a virtual assistant system? The first step is prepare data. In every option, it's the same. Next, D, B. Okay. So this is how it works actually. Firstly, we want to collect the data, prepare the data. It involves the collection, processing, and preparing the data required for training the virtual assistant model. Data preparation is a crucial step to ensure quality and relevance of the training data. Now comes the modeling. We have the data. We are training a maybe a deep learning model or maybe a neural network or like that. And it is designed to understand user inputs, process them, and generate appropriate responses. So training involves optimizing model parameters to improve performance. Then comes the registration part. We have designed a model, we have done some coding, right? We want to register. What register means, it needs to be registered in a model registry or repository. What we do on GitHub, we push our code, right? We just it's a repository, it's a home for our whatever we are doing, and it's more like a version control, or um, your history, all the versions are being stored there. So tracking different versions, this is very important. So we want to document each and every iteration that we are doing. Then comes the development life cycle of EVAs. Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. Uh, Deploy. Next step is deploy. After registration, we have this version control, right? We have this version control and we're tracking. Then after, like, once we have registered that, we can deploy. Deploy means actually releasing the product for use by the end users, right? Interact users in the real time. Deploy to production environments. And it integrating the model into system infrastructure. Suppose you have designed the software, but now you want to like sell it as a product. Now you are incorporating that inside a hardware speaker, then you are selling it. This is deployment. Then comes monitoring part. So monitoring means to keep track of, to we want to monitor what kind of difficulties are the users facing, what kind of difficulties um, we are facing to make this available. And then there comes performance metrics like KPIs are there, detecting anomalies or issues resolving, responding to them promptly to maintain system functionality. So smooth operation we want to ensure. Then comes the retraining part. Suppose we are facing some issues regularly. Then we realize that, oh, this needs some modifications. So new data becomes available, or as the system encounters new scenarios, the virtual assistant model may need to be retrained to adapt to improve its performance. Then retraining includes updating the model with new data and refining its capabilities based on user feedbacks and evolving requirements. For example, if you see ChatGPT, then they keep releasing the new versions. So they are including new data for training, and every time, like GPT 3.5, GPT 4, like that. So the correct sequence becomes this: first is prepare data, then we want to model it, train a model, then we register it. After registry, we want deployment. Then after the product is launched, we will monitor how it's performing. Then we retrain, and then the cycle continues. We take new data, then we again model it, and that way we can store all the versions. So we can have track history. Okay, which of the following is not a dataset for emotional speech recognition? EmoDB, Ravdis, LibreSpeech, ITKGP, SESC. Okay, Niva is saying C. So first is EmoDB, which is known as a freely available dataset for emotional speech analysis. It's a very famous one, and it's mostly in German language. So it was created by Institute of Communication Science. This is in Germany, and this is the like details. 10 professional speakers are there, and then it contains so 7 emotions categories: anger, boredom, anxiety, happiness, sadness, disgust, and neutral. Now that then comes the Ravdesh. I hope my voice is
Yes,
clear.
anxiety. Sorry to disturb you, ma'am. Actually, anxiety and boredom, are these included in EMODB? I don't think so, ma'am. Because the basic 7 emotions are anger, happiness, sadness, disgust, surprise is there, of course, and neutral is there. Is boredom and anxiety? I don't think. I don't know.
Let me Google it to confirm.
Yeah, fear and surprise, I think, but I don't know whether boredom and anxiety, these two are also included.
Okay. I actually referred to this Kaggle repository. This description says these are the uh, emotional state, but maybe on the official page, maybe I have mistaken. Let me check. Berlin database of emotional speech. Yeah, I think it's it's having anxiety. I think I need to check it. But anyway, there are these states.
Okay, okay. Yeah, fine.
Okay. So next is RABDES. Uh, it is Ryerson audiovisual database of emotional speech and song, and it's very another very popular data set. It consists of speech and song recordings, and they're produced by actors. Then these categories are involved: calm, happy, sad, angry, fearful, surprised, and disgust. And songs also contain these categories. Each expression is produced at two levels also: normal and strong, and neutral expression is also there. Then there are three modalities: audio only, video, and video only. So we are mostly concerned with this audio only. Then this is Libre speech. Libre speech is mostly used for ASR. It's automatic speech recognition. It's not used much for this much chaos. They don't have that emotional labels attached. It's just the vocalization of the text. So it's uh, it's actually, yeah, it's the data is derived from audiobooks from LibriVox project and has been carefully segmented and aligned. So basically, we are text to speech and speech to text for those tasks. This dataset is more suitable. Then comes IIT KGP, IIT Kharagpur, the speech emotion corpus. It is a dataset specifically curated for Indian context. So this contains the Telugu language, and these are the professional artists from AIR, and this is by simulating 8 different emotions using the neutral statements. So there's a reference statement, and then these person have acted in different 8 different emotions. Okay, which of the following is okay? This is the same question. So Libre speech is the answer. Okay, what does a model registry allow in the deployment of machine learning models? Real-time processing and response, tracking different versions of the model.
Is it B? Just now you said I forgot.
Yeah. It's B. It's B. So, model registry, uh, it serves as a centralized repository for storing and managing different versions. It allows to track, manage, and compare various iterations of the model throughout their life cycle, from development to deployment. Now, what are the benefits or what are the features like that? Version control. So, version control is there. We can store different versions and keep a track, and we can also store relevant metadata, date of creation, person who made the changes, like committed, and in GitHub we can just see. Then comparison and evaluation can also be there. Some on based on performance metrics we can compare all the versions. Then we can it can help in the decision making. Okay, then comes collaboration. uh, when you document this and like register this somewhere, then other people can also contribute, because they can also, you can share uh, the implementation, then others can also contribute. So collaborative features, access controls and permissions are there. There should be uh, permissions so that we are able to handle this data security and integrity. Then comes reproducibility. uh, it supports reproducibility. Suppose you create something and then it's open source, then other person can also recreate that. Even if it is not open source, you want to recreate the previous version, you can just take the version out because it's well documented, so it becomes very easy. Deployment management is also there. uh, then comes auditing and compliance, so it's very transparent, so the concerned authorities can check from there and then they can find out if there are any uh, you know violations, etc. And you can also inspect the whole product quite easily. So detailed logs of model changes, deployments, and usage. And these helps the organizations ensure regulatory compliance, adhere to data governance policies, and maintain transparency. Now, then also comes the performance monitoring in real time. KPIs you can figure out, metrics stakeholders can access. So this is about the model registry. So this is B. I hope my voice is clear because I'm slightly not feeling well today, so I hope my voice is audible. So, okay, what is one of the challenges associated with multi-language support and emotionally intelligent virtual assistants? What can be the challenge? See, Akash says A. Okay, let's see. Um, Actually, it's the emotions can be expressed differently based on cultural norms, beliefs, and social contexts. So, a virtual agent that supports multiple language, it should be able to understand and interpret emotions accurately across diverse cultural backgrounds. This requires careful consideration of different differences, nuances of uh, different cultures. In some cultures, for example, people might express happiness through laughter and smiling, and it might be conveyed through subtle facial expressions or gestures in another community. So, the way happiness is communicated verbally can also differ, right? Specific phrases or idioms like yay or something like wow, like there can be some different words. So, we want to include every information. But this is a challenge, as we already discussed, that this is a challenge. Uh, Imagine a virtual assistant. It is designed to recognize and respond to users' emotional states, including happiness. To ensure consistency in its responses across different contexts, the VA needs to be trained on diverse dataset that can capture this nuances. Uh, for instance, it encounters a user expressing happiness in a more subdued manner through a slight smile or soft tone. It should still be able to accurately interpret and respond to that emotion, even if the expression differs from what it has been trained on in other cultural contexts. So, multilingual has, of course, these challenges will be there. So, consistency. Actually, consistency, the option is slightly confusing. Inconsistency is there. There is so much difference among all the languages that we won't be able to capture each and everything um, efficiently unless our model is like too huge. Then we can, but it won't be deployable because if the model becomes too heavy, then it leads to this like it's not efficient, like jack of all trades master of none, maybe that. Okay, how can cultural diversity impact the effectiveness of emotionally intelligent virtual agents? Yeah, so Akash is saying that in multi-language support there might be some culture which is not appropriate for other culture. So as there are many cultures, there would be bias as our model might interpret it good, but actually it's not in that culture. True, true. एकदम ठीक बोल रहे हो. Um, so I think bias is also see bias is like multi-language is something um how to put it, we have to select the most appropriate option. Bias can also be there. You're absolutely correct. But it's mostly um it's not about the multilingual thing, right? Multilingual is different and multiple demographic multi contexts is different. There's slight difference, I would say. From what I understand, if I know Hindi and Punjabi, then the main challenge will be how to deal with the differences in those languages. Bias is something uh, that comes into picture if I have trained a model on like white people and then I'm putting that deploying in Indian context because the overall context is different, although your point is very valid. Okay, next question is this culture. Yeah, so location comes under the context thing, right? So context, if we are including, then our model will be better. That's what we studied in. It should be a mixture of intent, emotion, and context. So this is the context. So yeah, in this 16th question, cultural diversity can have a significant impact on the effectiveness of emotionally intelligent virtual agent by influencing how emotions are expressed, perceived, and interpreted across different cultural contexts. So, if we include more cultural contexts, then this we are able to adapt more virtual agent, more personalized, cultural sensitive emotional support, enhancing their effectiveness in addressing the emotional needs of users from various backgrounds. So let's go back to the question. How can cultural diversity impact the effectiveness? It it ensures uniformity? No. It enables adaptation to different culture norms and preferences. This is true. It leads to bias and discrimination. No. It restricts access to emotional support service for certain. No, it does not restrict, but it does the opposite. It provides more access. So B is the correct option. So next question. How does emotional manipulation pose an ethical challenge in the context of emotionally intelligent virtual agents? 17th question. D, B. Okay. What exactly is emotional manipulation? This is very interesting actually. In the context of these emotionally intelligent virtual agents, what it refers to is the ability of these systems to influence users' emotions and behaviors without explicit knowledge or consent. Now, suppose I am okay. This poses an we will come to the example soon. So this poses an ethical challenge because it raises concerns about autonomy, consent, and transparency in HCI. Users may not be aware. We're not even aware that we are being influenced, being manipulated by the virtual agent. Suppose there is a company who has designed the virtual agent, and the company also sells, for example, the agent is for mental health purposes. Now, what it does is every time I go that, "Oh, I need this help, I need to do meditation," he will the agent will suggest you should go for this online meditation course by this particular instructor. Now, what if I don't want I think it's genuinely it's genuinely recommending me that, but it can manipulate me to do this course, to buy this course, that okay, if you buy this course you will feel better. Then in order to feel better I will do anything, I will buy that course. So it is manipulating us without us being aware about that. So this lack of transparency and control over other one's emotional experience can undermine trust in the technology. Next time you won't trust the recommendation by that agent, and it leads to ethical dilemmas regarding the appropriate use of these systems. Suppose what happens is that initially everything is like free, everything. Then what happens, slowly, advertisements come into picture. Now, what if that agent is so influenced by one hospital or one course or one instructor that it is suggesting you go to that yoga instructor, you will feel better for yoga sessions. And particularly, it's not telling you to go for a yoga session, it's telling you particularly go to this particular instructor. That is when manipulation comes into picture, because somehow the developers have fed the model like, "Oh, you have to recommend this thing," and it is recommending you and it's influencing you. Yeah, exactly. So Akash is saying like it's like a situation where human beings are trying to influence other humans' decision. The model is just the intermediary. It's just designed that way. So the actually influence it's coming from a human being, the developer or the stakeholder. So for example, if the user expresses concern about feeling overwhelmed by the work, the virtual agent may emphasize the importance of taking breaks and engaging in stress relieving activities suggested by the application's sponsors or advertisers. Uh, now, now application, suppose another example can be if there's an auto tutor and it's on uh, an independent platform, but you know that suppose Baiju has sponsored that. Now every time it will recommend me a course on Baiju only. So that is it is influencing me to buy a course from the Baiju's website. So that is how my manipulation is going on, and it can help the user to cope with stress. If we're talking about the mental health virtual assistant, its manipulation of the conversation may lead the user to adopt behaviors and beliefs which can serve the interest of the developer or other stakeholders without users' explicit consent or awareness. Right? So it's very similar to the scenario where you go to a doctor and they recommend you medicine from that particular brand. Like, right, okay, this is what you have to buy. Although the salts are same in different company as well. That's the same thing here. So it can influence other users' emotions and behaviors without their knowledge and consent. Right? Okay. This is a dash is a legal concern associated with emotional virtual agents. Legal. This question is also like slightly confusing, I would say. So the intent is that let's discuss this one. So it tries to talk about this liability and accountability concept, which is um, which is yeah, exactly, they're not 100% right or wrong. But let's talk about what liability means. Okay, suppose suppose a financial institution integrates an EVA into its mobile banking application to provide personalized finance advice. So I suppose I use SBI. I go on the app, and then I use the virtual assistant, and it is designed to give me advice. Suppose I'm telling, I want to invest my money. I have my savings. I want, where should I invest so that I get the maximum profit? Now that agent is telling me that you should go for this FD, or you should invest in mutual funds. So I'll invest in the mutual funds. Somehow that did not work for me, and I lost money because of that. Now who is responsible? The developer is responsible, the virtual agent. How are you going to sue that virtual agent? Because uh, that is just a software. How are you going to challenge that thing? So it is very important that the legal aspect is also taken care of. The EVA utilizes machine learning algorithms to analyze user data, including income, vagara, vagara, and to generate tailored recommendations. If it provides inaccurate or biased financial advice that leads to investment loss or financial harm, then the financial institution could be held liable for the outcomes. So the bank will be held liable that your virtual agent is not performing well. And if it fails to account for the changes in market, etc., and user may experience negative financial consequences, loss of capital, then that institution may face legal and regulatory scrutiny and potential lawsuits. So it can further damage the reputation and impacting their long-term business viability. So it is we have to be very careful. Um, we have to include these liability and accountability factors as well. So that is how the law legal concern it meant. So social isolation is not a like legal concern, because we will see what social isolation means. Unintended consequences means that some side effects, right? It's not exactly the legal aspect. Privacy should be like, there should be liability if some privacy breach is going on. It's not directly a legal concern. Or you can say, actually, depends your perception. Okay. But for now, we are like saying C. Okay. Anthropo- anthrop- sorry. Anthropomorphism may lead to deception. True or false? This is also very interesting observation. True. Okay. Let's discuss what anthropomorphism is. If you've attended the previous lectures or if you've seen the videos, we discussed this term in detail. So I'll just briefly go through this term, which is it involves like attributing human-like qualities or characteristics to non-human entities such as machine or animals. Um, you design a robot, it should look like a human being, like very nice, cute dog robot, which actually looks like a dog. So you are giving them real life like characteristics, although they are machines, but you're making them look like more familiar to humans in the sense that we are familiar looking at a dog, we feel comfortable. But what if it has like four eyes and two heads with brains coming out? It will be very creepy. You won't be able to interact with that agent, right? So that's the whole concept of anthropomorphism, which leads user to perceive the virtual. Okay, we want that agent to look more like comfortable, familiar environment, right? Uh, Now, where is that concern comes into picture? Uh, it may lead users to perceive the virtual agent as possessing human-like emotions or intentions, despite the agent being a programmed entity without genuine emotions. Suppose we talk about this dog robo. It looks very cute. It looks very. You get attached to that robo because you kind of want to pet it. Although it does not have any emotions, it has been just programmed to behave like that, but you are getting too attached to that robo. And it can create a sense of deception. In case of another robo, suppose a very human like robo that you're interacting with, it makes you feel like you're interacting to another person and it looks like a person only. Then you start trusting them a little too much. You start um, uh, you start relating to that person. It's like you find a friend in them, right? And you get too attached. How and you discussed all of your problems. You expect the solutions, whatever they will tell you, you will start following. That is also very wrong because that is that comes under deception. You're delusional that this agent is my fellow. They're just for your assistance, they're not your friend as of now. Like they're not that smart to be your friend and they can't have a conversation with you like a human can. So it can lead to deception in the interaction between users and emotionally intelligent virtual agents. So imagine a virtual assistant designed to provide emotional support to users. So user interact with that virtual agent through text or voice commands, seeking advice or comfort in times of distress. Over time, some users develop a strong emotional attachment to the virtual assistant, viewing it as a trusted friend or confidant. Now, it is a purely technological creation. It lacks genuine emotions or consciousness, and but then you will feel like, oh, Sophia the robo is my friend, which is not the case, right? So, in reality, they're just based on algorithms and pre programmed responses without any true understanding or emotional capability, right? Then it leads to a false sense of companionship and reliance on the virtual assistant for emotional support. Every time you will not even go to some your actual friend, but you will go run to that robo. Exactly, exactly, Akash. Even though we know that it is a machine, we still expect it to behave in a certain way, and that is a mismatch also. That is something there was a effect called like uncanny valley effect, and there's a mismatch This, and that we find creepy. If suppose I am a robot and I start behaving very weird, like I look exactly like a human being right now, but what if I like do weird things and I'm not able to talk um, normally? My lip movement is very weird right now. So you will feel creeped out. You will feel that something is off. That instead of enhancing the user experience, it will degrade it. So that is one challenge you can say. And another thing is again deception. You are kind of deceiving the person by telling them that okay, this is your friend. See, this robot is your friend. That they just understand you very nicely, etc., etc. And some people might get too attached. This is also a concern. But yeah, it can lead to an deception. Okay, next question. Identify the ethical concern associated. So there is a healthcare organization. It integrates a emotional virtual therapist in their mental health support system, support services for patients. If it provides inaccurate or harmful advice, then it leads to adverse outcomes or other mental health conditions, even escalating. Are you sure, Akash? This is deceptive? We just discussed the deceptive part. Deception means, have you seen Drishyam? The tagline is visuals can be deceptive. Visual, what जो दिखता है वो होता नहीं है. Deception means that धोखा, um, that facade. What it looks like, it is not the reality. So in the previous example, we saw that if a human, like if a robot looks like a human, you're slowly considering that okay, this is my friend, this is like a human, but they're just programmed robots. So it is deceptive. In this case, Niva ma'am, would you like to answer this one? Ashwini, bias. Bias is. Do you think it's bias? Bias would have been like, suppose uh, women have different problems. We have to manage, we have to be the taskers, like multitasking person. But men, they have different kind of pressure. They have to get a nice job and get well settled. And yeah, actually the thing is that we talked about bias. Bias is something, it has been trained on something else and it is not generalizing. Suppose people in America, how they feel depressed is different from our depression in India because we have different reasons for that. Yeah, Rajat, you're correct. Neema ma'am, you're correct. B is the correct option because in this case, if you see, the virtual agent provided wrong information, wrong. Suppose a person is already suffering from mental health issues and you kind of you're poking them to do something wrong, maybe some something physical harm to yourself, like there can be so many scenarios. In that case, what will we do? We want some liability and accountability. If the person is, if the virtual assistant is giving us wrong advice, it will. ad- adversely impact the mental health. It will worsen it, and we need some kind of legal action for that. So they are designed to interact with users in a way that recognizes and responds to emotion. However, if they fail to provide appropriate support, or if the responses lead to negative outcomes, there may be legal ramifications. No, I don't think so, Akash. I don't agree to this point. So let me read this out. Akash is saying that it can be deceptive as well. Deceptive is that they are telling you that it's not like doctors already know that the model might be inaccurate. It's not like that. Um, Deception would have been like you're giving that, okay, this robo is like a companion for you. It's not, deception is not something people impose or they try to do, but um, or okay, if you claim that this virtual agent will tell you the solution of everything, and then it is um, you just follow their advice and you just start doing that, and the developer says that okay, this can solve all of your problems, you just tell them what to do, they are very smart, etc. If the claims are there, then you can say that uh, you know this is more like a fraud. But deception in this context, we have studied that deception actually means that how it looks like a human being, but it's not a human being. And somehow we are we are relating too much. I'm considering that robo as my friend. I'm just telling that robo everything. Oh, you know what happened? This happened. And slowly I'm just in my head I'm thinking, okay, this is actually like a human being only, but this is which is not the case. So deception is like how it looks versus how it is actually. Here we are more about the legal concerns. Like, what if a patient hurt themselves? It could be useful for some non-serious patient, but if a person assumes to be his best friend and only companion, it's more like inside of that patient only. Like, it's not by a doctor that is being uh, deception is not caused by somebody else. I don't know if I'm able to convey my point or not, but so somebody needs to be held accountable for the negative impact on your mental health just because one virtual agent told you to do this thing. Okay, this is the point here. Like, आप ठीक होने गए थे उनके पास, you went to seek some mental health guidance, but they are guiding you in a wrong direction, and it is just worse. It just made your condition worse. Suppose, for a very small example, usually people say that if you have mental health problem, you should avoid um, coffee because caffeinated and etc. They just want tell you to avoid these coffee, tea, etc. And what if the model is telling you to consume 5 times coffee 5 times a day? It is giving you the opposite advice, and that will you start doing as well. Then you feel like, oh, this is actually worse making me worse, making my condition worse. What will you do then? Who will you complain to? We need some person who we would hold like accountable for that. I- like the hospital which is having that bot or other assistant, so we can file a case on that hospital. I hope my point is clear now. So we want some, it can be held liable for any damage or harm. Okay. So these things actually are very, I would say they're not very well defined. Even emotions, intent, um, this liability, this ethical concerns, they are very vague in some sorts. And there is no clear boundary. Like this situation, liability will be there, but privacy will also be there. Of course, privacy will also be there in this, but in this specific context, that situation that I've given, we need to find the most appropriate and option. Yeah, I will show you the question. So it will be like, if it is a mental health virtual assistant, emotionally aware, and you are seeking the mental health therapy sessions. And during the therapy sessions, virtual therapy sessions, you it gives you some harmful advice. Instead of helping you, it's making your condition more difficult. Then you feel after a month, you feel like, oh, it is degrading my health. I should stop. But now, who would you complain to? It's just a chatbot, a smart one, but it's ultimately a chatbot, right? आप किसको कंप्लेंट करोगे? आप you will only go, आप किनको जाके कंप्लेंट करोगे? आप you will have to file a lawsuit. So these policies should be there. That's why we initially discussed that during the designing, during the deployment, there should be some things which are, yeah, so we need some legal policies, and we need some uh, disclaimers. We need um, these mechanisms to handle such legal repercussions if there are any, right? So in this case, the correct answer will be, yeah. This is another example, same like uh, the mental health case. Okay, so it's more related to this liability and accountability. Okay, okay, next. There's this another ethical concern associated. So there is a virtual assistant in an e-commerce app, suppose Amazon, Flipkart, and it analyzes the user's emotional state based on their browsing history and interactions. Okay. If the assistant detects frustration or impatience, for example, what happens is that I open the app and I just go back. I don't scroll, or I'm scrolling too fast. I'm getting, maybe it is a sign that I am looking for something, I'm not finding it. I'm just getting very frustrated. I'm just scrolling like this. Right? Yeah. So it detects frustration, and then it displays a book, a book, how to calm your mind in 5 minutes. I actually need that right now. So I will click on that link, right? So how did it do that? It it analyzed my mental state, emotional state, and used that information to display a certain product. It is influencing to me into tricking me into buying something. So this is emotional manipulation, right? So let's go through this again. Intentionally influencing or altering a individual's emotion for a particular purpose, often without their explicit knowledge or consent. So it exploits the user's vulnerable emotional states, okay, such as frustration or commercial gain or increasing sales. Okay, and it raises ethical concerns because it involves leveraging users' emotional vulnerabilities to influence their behavior in a way that may not be in their best. Otherwise, maybe I would have never bought that book. But now that I'm frustrated, I will literally definitely go and buy that. So it is a manipulation or exploitation, आप बोल सकते हैं. And what happens is that um, Sometimes what happens is me and my friends are discussing about a random topic, and then I open my social media, and it is full of that ads. Suppose XYZ website, I told I bought a oversized t-shirt, nice cool graphic, and the moment I open my social media, you will see that the ads will be there. How? And that is very surprising, and it raises concerns. It raises, it is kind of, I'm losing trust there, because I somehow feel that these websites are listening to me all the time, and my privacy is a like myth. Privacy is a myth. Yeah, I hope you get my point. So, uh, it may contribute to impulsive or uninformed purchase decisions, potentially leading to buyers financial strain for the use. बाद में आएगा कि मैंने क्यों खरीदी. So उस टाइम पे momentarily they're just वो फायदा उठा रहे हैं आपके mental state का. That's the point. Okay, next one. An elderly individual living alone becomes emotionally attached to a virtual companion robo, spending most of their time interacting with the robo for companionship and emotional support. As a result, individual gradually withdraws from social interactions with family and friends. Correct. So, social isolation, as the name suggests, is that you're isolating yourself from the society. For example, especially introverts. Introverts, what they don't prefer to talk to other people. They're not that outgoing. So, what happens is that they prefer just sticking to their screens all the time or chatting. So, they just don't want to have face to face interactions. But in these virtual assistants, so introverts are a good target audience, right? Um, Even in the case of elderly people, uh, there are robots in Japan which have been designed for this uh, elderly companionship. You must have heard that in Japan, the population of the young people is very less. So elderly people, there are a lot of elderly people, and they have to live alone. Don't have children, or the children are not living with them. So they feel so alone, and the depression, suicide, these things are very common, very high there, right? So in order to avoid these things, or in order to cure um, these robots, these are called companion robots, or socially companion robot, or elderly care robots. So these robots are there, and then the elderly, or any other person for that matter, they will they will start becoming more dependent on this virtual agent, and somehow they won't be they yeah, so they won't be comfortable talking to other people outside their, like, okay, elderly people, what one solution is that all people go outside, that interact with each other, they will get distracted, they will feel better because of knowing each other in the social circle, you feel better somehow. But if you are addicted to this virtual agent talking to, like, okay, I don't need to go outside, why should I go outside, I can talk to this robo, then you will just only you're just confining yourself to that robo, and you're like withdrawing yourself from the society, right? It increased interaction with robo and decreased engagement with family and friends you don't prefer. Right, Akash, our generation is quite introverted. We are quite comfortable talking to anyone in WhatsApp, but not in real world. That's so personally, like, I am a very extrovert person. You might be a very introvert person. So, but especially for introverts, yes, we just are very comfortable behind our screens and not face to face. So this gradual withdrawal from social interactions can result in social isolation. So while initially we intended through these virtual companionship robots, we wanted to provide companionship and emotional support. It can also cause this individual social isolation by replacing human interaction with the artificial ones. This is a concern. This is a legitimate concern. Okay. Last question of this session. Mental health support chatbot collects detailed information about users' emotion, behavior, and physiological, psychological concerns. Sorry. What potential ethical concern can arise? Social image, privacy, discrimination, dependence. Easy one. Hmm. Correct. So it's more related to the privacy because the data is involved. Data is being talked about, right? Um, it contains, we collect the detailed information about users' emotions, behaviors, psychological concerns, and then users who are very comfortable now, they will share some important information. Maybe suppose I have something to say which I'm not comfortable talking in front of anyone, not even my counselor, then I will prefer that virtual agent. But a virtual agent is also like it has some ASR system, it is also recording your stuff, it is also writing it down in the logs, and it has all the information. Anybody, doctor can, anybody else, if accesses apart from the doctor, then it will be the breach of it will be breach of privacy. So users may share sensitive and personal information with the mental health support chatbot, expecting confidentiality and privacy. However, if this data is not adequately protected and secure, it would be vulnerable to unauthorized access, data breach, or misuse. Then, privacy is a fundamental right, right? It is an ethical principle that requires respecting individuals' rights to control their personal information. So, it is essential that as developers, we also implement these measures, we take these measures, um, such as encryption, data anonymization, and user consent mechanisms, and adherence to data protection regulations. There are regulatory bodies as well, there are legal implications as well. So, these we should take care of these things to safeguard our users' privacy and confidentiality. Okay, so thanks, guys. Thanks for joining. I hope this session was fruitful. And we will be having another session on 16th of April. That will be the last session. Eva,
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
okay, thank you so much everyone for joining. And yeah, I hope to see you all in the next session as well. Next session will be the last session of the day.
Yes. Mm.
Yes, and also for the people who don't know that these recordings will be there on the YouTube as well. I think you must have checked those out. If you miss any session, then you can also always go back and refer to those videos.
Your
So
documentation is very good, ma'am.
thank
You
you so
provide
much.
very good material.
Thank you so much. And I will put the these contents PDFs also in a drive link that has been shared with you all. Okay.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
thank you so much everyone for joining. You may please leave.
Thank you, ma'am.